You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is Monday, time to commence another broadcast week here on the network. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you're rested and raring to go for a little bit of trading action. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which so many of you are binging. Reminding you at the top of the show, make sure you're subscribed to the full network wherever you get your favorite podcast. Otherwise, you are definitely missing out. And then, of course, if you don't want to miss out on great exclusive shows, oddities, pro Q&As, giveaways, exclusives, all sorts of fun, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. As we learn who's joining us for this Monday session of the old OB, pleased to be joined by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, as well as by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. I introduced them ahead of time, listeners, because it is now time. It is now time to start your engines. And you know what better way to kick off your trading week than with a little bit of the old 80s Trivia Challenge. Here we go. All right. Time for some great unlicensed trivia adjacent music. And the Rock Lobster has been bugging us for ages to update the totals here in the game. We knew the Rock Lobster was winning, just a question of how much. And the last time we did all this, it was, I believe, 8.5. Back in the end of July, Andrew had about 8.5 points, and Uncle Mike had 4.5. Andrew has now, coming into today's show, increased his lead. He now has 12.5 points, so he has gained a full 4 points. Uncle Mike only gained a 1.5. He's up to 6 now. So Andrew's lead has widened, which is not a good sign for the uncleest of Mikes. The clock is ticking. We got the end of October and then November and December, and that's it. And there's probably going to be a show or two off in that time frame. So Uncle Mike kind of needs to hit it out of the park for the rest of the year. Oh, lest I forget, our buddy Mr. Passarelli made one appearance, and he has 1/6 of the total score of Uncle Mike, which is 1 point. So yes, that is our unofficial, I haven't had a chance to audit these myself. These are the unaudited results, but they're pretty close to actual, I would think. I will go back after the show and make sure everything is copacetic. The producers are checking it all right now, but that is the total as we have coming into the show. A long way around to saying, Uncle Mike, you got to start swinging for the fences. Where are we going today, sir?
Well, we get to double, don't we? Because didn't you do that for Andrew all those last years?
I only did a couple of times when we were in the depths of the 80s wrestling, and it was clear the Rock Lobster was past the 2 or 3 that he knew, which were Hogan and Macho and Andre, and that was it. So I was giving him some incentives to keep playing. In fact, to his credit, the Rock Lobster, when you were characteristically late, offered to only go for half a point today if you weren't here. Gentleman that he is, but I said nay.
Aww.
I said nay, you will go for the full points, or you will go for nothing. We're going big or going home here. So where are you going big today, sir?
Well, let's go for sports and leisure.
All right. Dance with the one that brung you or the one that dug you into an early grave. We shall see. All right. Here we go. Get your hands on. I shall fire up the chat so I have official access to the buzzing. All right, here we go. What are spit in the annual contest in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma? Again, I will read that again. Oh, Tosaw already buzzing. All right.
Oh.
Go for it, Uncle Mike.
Sunflower seeds.
Oh. A good guess. But no, Mr. Rock Lobster, can you steal?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. What are spit, S-P-I-T, in the annual contest in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma? So you're spitting something. What are you spitting?
I'm going to say apple seeds.
Also a good guess. The answer, no. Watermelon seeds.
Oh!
Who knew that was a thing? All right. Well, tell you what. We'll go for a half point just to make things interesting. So, Uncle Mike, you get to choose again. Where are we going next?
Let's do geography.
All right. What 2 countries have their flags flying over Caribbean Virgins? I'm assuming they mean the Caribbean Virgin Islands.
Buzz.
All right, Andrew, go for it.
The United States and England?
Yeah, they're all done. U.S. and Britain, yes. All right, Andrew, half point.
Well, wait, is England also Britain? Because Britain is part of the British Commonwealth. England is just part of the British Commonwealth.
I like it. Now
I don't know about this
now
one.
we are fighting on points. So technically, because there's 4 countries in Greater Britain, he should get 1/4 of a point for that half. So it should be a quarter point for U.S. and then an eighth of a point for Britain.
All I know is we fought the English.
So 3/8 of a point for Andrew.
We didn't fight the Irish. We didn't fight the Scots. We fought the English.
All right, I will make a note here. The Rock Lobster increasing his lead now.
Put the umbrage down. We want to be fair.
Yes.
There was umbrage taken at
umbrage.
England being England by Mr. Tosaw.
So now the lead has exceeded and increased to 7
But wasn't
points.
the question over it was over Caribbean Virgins?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it was. It was.
So I don't know about this one here.
It was weirdly
What kind of
worded.
a game we playing here about the Virgins in the Caribbean?
we're
There's
not
Pirates of
going
the
down into
Caribbean, and then you got
the rabbit
Virgins of
hole
the
here now.
Caribbean. What do we got going here,
Oh,
Longo?
jeez, I just spilled a million trivia cards all over the studio. So while I go pick those up, let's go to the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, I'm going to be picking up freaking cards for days just for you folks. That's how much I like you, because I spilled a whole freaking box of cards. But I was so excited with your debate all over the Caribbean Virgins that I knocked my stuff aside. All right. Let's keep rolling on into the trading block. Of course, the portion of the show where we break down what the F is trading out there, listeners. And it's another one of those WTF days. If you had a full 1% or more rally in most of the major indexes and VIX taking it on the chin, then you are the winner chicken dinner today. Dow, like we said, S&P both up about a full percent. NASDAQ up about 1 1/3%. VIX back below a 19 handle, listeners. Was at about an 18 3/4 when we kicked off the show. It's down about 3 points exactly from where it was on Thursday. Has ticked up a little bit to 1885 since we started playing our trivia game, but still shy of the 19 handle. We were just hanging out with the logins on Friday on VolViews, listeners. Just goes to show you how much things can change over the weekend. If you did Russell's buy the UVIX hedge this weekend, that one might be a bit of an ouchie. I have to admit, I did not do it this weekend. I was feeling a little bit of vol crush. Maybe not this much, but a little bit of vol crush. And good old VVIX coming back to the par strike. Still a little ways to go, though. at a 107 as we kick off the show. Down 15 handles from where we were this time last week. All right. A lot going on out there in the full market out there. A lot going on the trivia front. Mr. Rock Lobster, as our victor, we will start with you, sir. Do you have any enduring memories of the Caribbean Virgin Islands, or as Uncle Mike puts them, the Caribbean Virgins? And then B, what's catching your eye in the market today?
Yeah, I've never been to the Caribbean Virgin Islands. I'm one of those people that have basically been spoiled my entire life that has lived next to a large body of water somehow. So even when I was in the Midwest, I was on Lake Michigan. So it kind of looks like an ocean if you live there. I don't know how many people have been to Chicago, but it does look like quite a big body of water. Now, of course, I live on the shores of Maine, but I grew up on the LA County beaches, and then north to Santa Cruz and San Francisco. So I've always somehow managed to be on a coast. So I've never had the real draw to the Caribbean and its virgins, let's say. So haven't been there. But I appreciate the question to add another half a point to my total. The only question now is, how big of a total did Mike have when he was in 80s trivia wrestling? If you could go back in the archives, because those were, I remember he put up some monumental numbers way back then. He
was taking you to the woodshed. Now you want those how many totals you want us to summon for you, sir?
Well, I'm gonna see if I could at least try to match one of his totals. I don't know if it's possible. I'm gonna say he's in the 20s. Like the defeat was so large, and my lack of knowledge on 80s trivia was so vast. But market, I think the market is, well, again, we had the weekend. We had that big vol crush Friday. You guys were vol viewing, probably were trading 24. And then there was a huge, and then the volatility just crashed. And I'm going to say inexplicably, I couldn't figure it out, but you look at a chart of VIX and somebody hit the sell button on it. I'm going to guess it's because the regional bank thing was more of somebody did outright fraud. There was some worries about some collateral and whatnot. Anyway, it appears that it was like good old fashioned fraud and not just the company going bankrupt. It wasn't a huge, ended up not being a big deal. And because on Friday morning, I think VIX peaked at 29, kind of pre-market. And now we're sitting here at 18.5, which is, I believe, is it a 2-week low? I'm going to say 10 trading days. Yep, we just made a 10 trading day low just now, basically. So we haven't been this low in 2 weeks. So I would say, and I'm in kind of like cautiously bullish camp with Mike. The shutdown is still like a big piece of unknown information. I think that makes the market more illiquid. I don't know if you had traded any shutdowns when you were a youth, Mr. Longo, but as I used to call them, the Jello markets, where it's there and it looks solid until you grab it and try to wiggle it a little bit and you could stick your finger in it, right? And I remember making markets and, they were like a $0.50 wide or $0.25 wide, and somebody comes in an eighth away and like everybody's like, nope, we're not trading it. We don't care. And it's because nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah, you got to hit bids and lift offers in that environment. You can't squeeze. Exactly. No squeezing. We ain't got time for squeezing.
Squeezing is not allowed. And usually the guys who used to the market scummers they actually didn't even show up for work usually in those days because there was nothing to do. There wasn't enough volume to scum, so they would just stay home and play golf or whatever. And that's what but the picture is what? Banking earnings were good. I mean, TSM, right? which is probably worth the whole value of the island of Taiwan, I think, at this point. And one of the reasons the Chinese want Taiwan, or they just say, we already have it. I don't know what the big argument is. It's already our island. We just let it go, kind of like Hong Kong. We had one country, two systems, or two countries, one system. I'm trying to think of exactly how that was worded when the British gave it back. When their lease was up, of creating one of the most amazing entrepreneurial capitalistic enterprises in history was Hong Kong. I think the only one that's second to that, or maybe surpassed now, is Singapore. So that's what, when you have competent leadership, does in both cases, actually. But we still have the AI thing is real. There's apparently no end to the chip cycle with Micron earnings a couple weeks ago. And it's a question of whether this stock market largesse filters down to the average person, which of course government workers aren't getting paid right now. Probably, almost since their last paycheck. And I know there's been a squeeze in, but in the regular economies, Maine is kind of odd. We have a zillion job posting signs out still. So I don't know about other states. You guys can weigh in about Chicago, Illinois.
Somebody's got to make the bean boots. Who's making the bean boots?
I know it. You would laugh, but there is help wanted signs everywhere in the state of Maine. Although I could say that I believe there's a reason for that, but I won't go down that rabbit hole in the show. But there still is a lot of jobs wanted signs here. So at least in this state, I don't think we're having a recession. Maybe in some other ones. So sometimes the stock market tells a different story, but again, corporate earnings are robust. It's just the big uncertainty is mostly around, what's going on with Uncle Sam. Can they get a hand over on healthcare costs? I mean, the government created the ACA. They're now fighting over how to fund it. They haven't been totally honest with us citizens. They keep creating these subsidies, and neither party is interested in making it better. So I don't know what we're paying them for. I would rather pay, the TSA agents. I'd even rather pay the IRS than Congress right now, because they got a job to do, and apparently they're not interested in doing it at all. So, but this is apparently a fight. I believe it will slog on for a while. I do not foresee it ending before November, even though I think Besant just said today he thinks they could be done in a week. I think the Democrats have decided to dig in, and the Republicans have dug in on their side, and we'll see what happens. But generally, they end up spending less money than they would have, which I'm going to assume is a good thing. But healthcare is still extremely expensive. I don't know anybody who is thrilled with either the cost of their insurance or the quality of healthcare they're getting currently. So if you can find that person, let me know.
Everyone you stop on the street and you say, are you pleased with your healthcare? They'll be like, oh, sure. Everyone says that, don't they? That's common.
Yeah, it's just a thing. It's a thing.
Just a bunch of happy, content people. Speaking of happy and content, he usually is. Might not be as much today because the trivia challenge is not exactly going as well. I'm happier and content right now because I just managed to pick up all of those freaking Trivial Pursuit cards. They were all over. They were all over everything. The prices I pay to entertain you folks and to keep these guys in their trivia challenges. The folks will never see the work that goes on behind the scenes. But Uncle Mike, have you ever been to the U.S. Virgin Islands and or British Virgin Islands? And then B, what is catching your eye out there in yet another Uncle Mike type of day?
Well, I have not been to the Virgin Islands. I've been to Jamaica. I've been to a couple other places in the Caribbean, but I've never been to the Virgin Islands. And today's an historic day. I almost had to say my trademark thing today because we are 24 points off an all-time high.
We're sniffing it.
But you ask for someone who's happy with their healthcare costs. I actually am.
Well, by all means, tell us more, sir.
Well, for sure. So what I do is there's a company out there, and it's pretty common, actually. There's several of them. So Samaritan Ministries, it's a Christian health share organization. And so just for myself, for my kids, it's kind of different. But for myself anyway, I pay $170 a month. And it's a per occurrence deductible. So it kind of works like your homeowner's insurance. So like if I were to get break my leg tomorrow, then I would get that covered with a little bit of a deductible. And then from there, if I were to break my other leg, the deductible would start all over again. But with this through the years, it has paid. It's something to where we've gone through an emergency room visit. We've had hospital stays, and we've probably had, I'm guessing through the years, 20 grand worth of claims on this through the years, and it's paid every penny it was supposed to. The way with which it works, it's not an insurance company. It's just a bunch of us born again Christians helping each other out for the most part. And yeah, that's how it works. Now, granted, it's there's certain things they won't cover. So, like, for example, if I decide to start smoking and get lung cancer from the smoking, they won't cover that. If I get drunk and hurt myself in a drunken stupor, they won't cover that. But all the other things they cover, and I'm actually extremely excited about it. And it's a really neat thing because you don't even pay the company directly every month. You actually send payment to some guy out in Boise, Idaho that has a need. And if I were to have a need, then I would get like 16 checks for $150 or whatever the need was, and that would cover my needs. So I am actually very happy by doing a health share program and not paying the insurance company. And the thing that makes me extremely happy is that not one penny of my healthcare coverage goes to an insurance company. I don't see how you can possibly get more happier than that.
Very interesting, sir. You always got curveballs for us here.
You never know where it's going to go with me, do you?
I did not expect that.
I love that. I love that idea, and that's probably why we haven't heard anything about it. Because this is like one of the things I would be hugely in favor of, a means-tested health program where you gotta maintain a healthy weight. You don't smoke. You don't do stupid crap. Like, that would change. Then we would have a cheaper, affordable care.
They exist. It's very big. They've been around for many, many, many years. I would highly recommend health sharing. If you Google search health sharing programs as a health insurance alternative or something like that, you'll find a bunch of them. Samaritan Ministries is who I've used for many years. I've had great success with them. It's been amazing. Now, they're a little bit old school because if you already have a pre-existing condition, they call it, there's a different language for it, but they won't cover a pre-existing condition. So there will be exceptions to certain things, but nonetheless, it's something I would highly recommend looking into, because every month when it's electronic now. It happened about maybe 7 or 8 months ago. It went electronic, but it would just make me. I would get a letter saying, "John Smith broke his leg in Kalispell, Montana. Please send him a check." And I'm happy to write that check because it doesn't even go to an insurance company, and it was a joyous thing. So I love it.
Wild. All right. Wild stuff, sir. What's catching your eye out there in the markets today?
There's downsides to it, too. It's not regulated by a Department of Insurance or anything. But anyway, that's there's my pitch for Samaritan Ministries. They're kind of like Skippy's Euros. They probably won't send me a royalty check for it. But all of our listeners know about a healthcare alternative that we were not expecting to hear about.
I'll plug them on the network. If they give me free health sharing for the rest of my day, then I'll go for it. Sure. I'll plug them all day. like the free Euros I don't get.
The important thing is it is possible to do these things. So clearly somebody has come up with a reasonable solution for this. And considering all the money we spend on healthcare, you would think we could come up with something not too different from this, but that's just me.
No, it's not just you. It's me too.
Okay.
It's not just you. Anyway, so in terms of the markets today, we're making another run at the all-time highs. It's possible we could hit it on this show today. And if we hit 60, 67, 64, whatever it is in the S&P, I'm busting in like Kool-Aid Man on the show and to announce it. But that's kind of what's happening right now. We're making a run. Silver's recovering a little bit from pulling back from its all-time highs. It had quite the sell-off last Friday. The fruit company, holy shnikes, up 4% on the day. Apple is up $10. It goes away for a while. Just when you think, okay, Apple's just going to act like normal people again, then it decides, you know what? I don't like being normal. I miss the days when Uncle Mike would talk about me on the show all the time, and it's saying, hey, start talking about me again. And well, it's up 4% on the day. So there's definitely something going on with Apple, that's for sure. In terms of some other things that are lighting up my tape today as to what's driving the market, excuse me, Netflix is up over 3% on the day. Palantir up over 2% on the day, back over the 180 mark. Still neck and neck with NVIDIA, 183 to 182. We've never expected them to be neck and neck in stock pricing, but hey, if you do a plug for them on the option block, that's what happens. In terms of the sectors and what's happening in the sector land today, we are getting a 1% bump in the healthcare sector. XLV financials are up over 1%. Technology is up 1.5%. So it's a fairly broad-based rally that we have today. But main thing lighting up my tape that I'm seeing in my world is the fruit company is acting fruity again. There you go.
They are looking pretty wild. We will get there in a second. By the way, Uncle Mike, you've given our chat all sorts of wild ideas. And now they want me to start a health sharing program for options traders now. That's what they want. Traders are not normally the healthiest bunch. They have a lot of bad habits. I don't know if I want to go out and start insuring a large swath of them. But, maybe if they surrender some of those, shall we say, dubious habits, maybe it'll have to be like Uncle Mike's thing. We have to have, can't do this and you can't do that. But then would we really have an options trading group? At the end of the day. But yeah, there we go. Maybe we'll have let me know, listeners, are you interested in a options trading centric health share? There we go. We'll kick it off here. We'll be the first. We'll revolutionize the space. Are things revolutionary in the markets today, listeners? The answer is yeah. It's kind of spicy out there, which again, not normally what you see for a strong up day. You see a ton, nearly 1 million contracts already on the tape in VIX land. But that's what we're seeing right now. Like we said, nearly over 1% in the NASDAQ and about 1% to the upside in VIX, and VIX cash continuing to take it on the chin down to about an 1860 now. So just getting shellacked, and VIX putting up already over 800,000 contracts. Listeners, in fact, let's get the updated total right now. It's up to 866. So they put up another 50,000 or so since Uncle Mike started talking. So wow, hot stuff out there. VIX looking hot. The ADV 777. So continuing to drift north. By the way, you're wondering what the hot option is out there in VIX land today, listeners. It is 94,000 of the 18 puts expiring this week. Average price for these about 17 cents. So thought that'd be a fun one to put out to you guys. 18 puts, 17 cents. Are you a buyer or a seller? As we continue to erode, I don't know if you're still getting them for around that price, but we shall see out there. Let's look really quickly. I think we were going to make that a flash poll. Let's see if we have that live. That is being posted as we speak. We will come back later in the show to see if you folks want it. It's a total flyer. Can we get south of 18 and stay there through expiration and, of course, the all-important settlement? You're kind of rolling those bones. Only a couple of days to get there. We'll keep an eye on that. SPY looking hot, over 5 million, 5.05 million contracts on the tape right now. The ADV, 9.5. S, 2.3 million. The ADV, 4.5 million. Small caps closing in on 1 million contracts as well, 925,000 contracts. It's kind of a foot race right now between VIX and small caps. And small caps has a much higher ADV, over 2x, 1.66 million contracts is the ADV for small caps. And then the Qs, 2.65 million, the ADV 4.85 million. So it seems like it's going to be a day for the Qs. It's going to be close to in line, but we shall see. Stay tuned to the hot options report later today to find out. And now the interesting thing, is it a banger explosive day? I mean, we're seeing this just explosive move in the markets out there. Is it a commensurate hot day out there in single name equities? The answer, unfortunately, is no. In fact, it's kind of lighter than we've seen for some time. We're coming to this a little bit later in the show than we normally do. That usually buys time for a little bit more flow to come across the tape, but we're still sub 300K to break into the top 10 right now. So nobody cares about single name equities right now, with the exception of maybe one at the top. We'll get there in a second. Number 10, our old pal Palantir coming back to life. 182.42, up about 4.25% or about 2.5%. So a good day for them, even if it is a paltry day on the options side. Only 288,000 contracts on the tape. Number 9, Oracle giving back the ghost, 278 and a third, off about 13 points exactly, or about 4.5%. So all those people who were piling into the par puts not that long ago, if you still have them, looking pretty good right now in Oracle. Number 9, 294,000 contracts on the tape. Man, people have been fading that Oracle pop with a relish and a gusto every time, it seems like. Number 8, Intel, 299, so not even 300K for Intel. $38, pretty much exactly, up about $1 or about 3% today. So nice little pop for Intel, even if it's not materializing with a ton of flow. Number 7, the Amazonians, they pretty much took out half of the web today, and somehow they're up. Major outage overnight for Amazon Web Services. Yet Amazon popping 261, up 215.65 is where they're hanging out right now, up about 1.25%. Because that makes sense. Up about, putting up, I should say, about 400,000 contracts for Amazon. Take out half of the internet and you rally 1.5% or so. Number 6, it's SoFi gaining back some of its lost luster as well. 28.70, up about 215 or a little over 8%. Putting up 477,000 contracts. Number 5, AMDA, 242 exactly, up nearly $9 or about almost 4%. 572,000 contracts. So number 5. Number 4, yes, all the way down to number 4, it's Tesla. What's going on, listeners? Tesla, 443, so blowing back through that 40 strike, that 440 strike we've been talking about a lot on the hot options report. Up 3.75 right now, or about 1%. Good for 797,000 contracts. So kind of a light day for Tesla as well. Number 3. This is one we were talking about not too long ago. It's good old Beyond Meat. Up 64 cents today, or 104%, so pretty much doubling. 903,000 contracts. It was a penny stock. Seemed like it was going the way of the dodo. Looks like we got maybe some squeeze action, or maybe anticipation of a squeeze. Either way, the stock has doubled. Beyond number 3, 903 on the tape. Number 2, it's NVIDIA, 184.13, up about $1 or about 0.5%. That means the big dog. Uncle Mike just talked about him, the fruit company. Man, roaring back to life. 263, pretty much exactly, up about 10.75 or about 4.25%. Apparently, the Chinese like the iPhone. So that's going to do it for you. You know, this phone, everyone faded the hell out of this thing. When they announced it, the stock took a hit. Everyone's like, oh, a big, not even a talk, but a tick. Incremental upgrade, boring, crushed the stock. And then people started lining up for it. And all of a sudden, stock started rallying. And apparently, the numbers back that up now. So folks liking themselves some fruit company, pushing it up to nearly $4 trillion. So Apple pretty much surpassing the entirety of the Russell 2000 in terms of market cap. 1.42 million contracts on the tape for the fruit company. If you like hot earnings, luckily we got you covered this week. It's a hot one, a big chunk of the S&P popping off this week. Tomorrow we got Coke before the bell. We've got Netflix after the bell. Wednesday we got Hilton, a little company called Tesla, Beamer, Alcoa. Thursday, American Airlines, Honeywell, Hasbro, Nokia, and Dow Chemical. Southwest Airlines as well as Ford. Good old Ford, the dumpster fire that is Ford. So a lot popping off this week. If you can't find something to trade, you're just not looking hard enough, as it's time for us to look real hard into the odd block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, listeners, let's get down to business. Shady business. Let's see if we can find some. Let's see if we can find some folks who are up to no good in the world of options, shall we? Let's kick things off. Let's kick the can down the road a little bit. As in Can, ticker symbol CAN. This is for Canan Inc. This is an ADR out of Singapore. They specialize in blockchain servers. This sounds vaguely familiar, but if we have talked about them, it's been quite some time. Canan Inc. pulling a little bit of Beyond Meat today, popping 43 cents to $2.03. So popping nearly 27% today. So I guess a good day for Canan Inc., even though they just had their stock rating lowered. It's like, that's good news for the stock apparently these days. That's weird. Either way, a year ago they were trading about $1, so they're up exactly 100%. They did rally back in December of last year, got up to about 3.25. Then they came back to earth pretty hard. In April, May, they got down to 53 cents. That seems like that was their low. And they hung out there for a good chunk. September, they were still in the low 70s. Then they started climbing, got up to about $1.30 beginning of October, sold off again to about $1.09 October 10th, and then rallied again to nearly $2 about October 15th, so about a little under a week ago. Then sold off again to about $1.60. This one's been wild, and then popping again today, another 40 odd cents out there. So just a wild year, a wild couple of weeks here in Canan Inc. They do business as Canan Creative, but they specialize in blockchain servers. I'm not sure where the creative part of that is, but I digress. Let's keep rolling. What do we spot out here, listeners? A lot of near-dated upside, as you might expect. We saw a block of nearly 6,000, 5,977 of the OCT2s expiring this week, going up for 25 cents. Paper lifting the offer. Then we came back to check, and turns out that was a hot trade today. We saw another 5,000 going up. As of the start of the show, they had done a total of 16,000 of the 2.5 calls. Average price total on the day of about 18, almost 19 cents. Let's see if they've done any more. Yeah, it's about the same number. Have still gone up. And then that's not enough. Those are the 2.5s. And then we also have, actually, I take it back. We saw about 6,000 of the 2s going up initially, and then 5,000 of the 2.5s. Later today for nearly 14 cents, 13.9 cents. So that caught our eye. Like, oh, something's afoot out here in New Canaan. So we did a little digging. And again, turns out about 16,000 of the 2.5s have gone up today. Average price nearly 19 cents. And then about 12,000 of the 2s have gone up. Average price for these about 30 cents. Both of those looking, kind of rough right now. I mean, they had a good pop, so you can probably sell them for that price, I would think. But can we maintain this level throughout the week? That's the question. And if you want a little bit longer term, the Nove 2 is also going up nearly 11,000 times today for nearly 60 cents. So those are looking especially juicy. Mr. Rock Lobster, have you noticed this Canan Inc? Is this on your radar? And what do you think about some meaty and out of the money call love going on out here today, sir?
I wonder if it's going to show up on Mark's Alpha AI scanner. He has this little short squeezy scanner that's been quite popular, actually. This is one of the stocks that would be on the list. So it's a company that buys servers to mine coins in the blockchain area. Do they do they just issue more convertible preferred bonds to buy more Bitcoin with
Probably. Sounds like it. But they're called Canan Creative. So there we go. 'Cause they're very creative in how they mine that Bitcoin.
There, it is very creative. I will say, though, Canan Creative, well, you got definitely a squeeze today. Does it pass our number? Yep, it passes the 1 day test. The 2 calls are trading 35 cents. So you know what? And the 2.5s are 15 cents. So there's only 28,000 of these options traded between the 2s and the 2.5s. So I guess somebody thinks in these stocks, in these little squeezy stocks, anything can happen. There was a thing going around on in Reddit, I believe. They're trying to squeeze Ken Griffith of Citadel fame because he was short Beyond Meat. Now, I would say I would have a hard time believing Ken Griffith would be overly short
Yeah, the stock was 60 cents. Are you still riding it to oblivion?
And he's shorting it because he can buy the 2 calls or whatever. He'd buy the 3 calls. He doesn't care. My gut tells me Citadel is a little sharper in how they might short something, but I could be wrong. But But they generally don't do overly stupid things. But it could happen. They got individual product managers, so anything can happen. But I find I have the hard time believing that. So the Beyond Meat thing is probably a short-term scare. So Canan Creative, more power to them. That it's another Bitcoin or blockchain vehicle that is getting memed up. So good for them. Good for them.
Getting memed up. Let's see if our next name is getting memed up as well. This is a newcomer. This is American Battery Technology Company, ticker symbol ABAT. They're a battery recycling startup. Extract the raw materials from the batteries. A ticker symbol ABAT, trading $6.14. Another one. Maybe they are getting memed up. Looking at this stock price today, $6.14, up $1.30, or nearly 27% as well. That's the magic number today. Everyone's popping 27% on the year. Ooh, this is a chart. A year ago, they were exactly $1. So they're up 508% on the year, listeners. So if you bought this for $1 a year ago, you're doing pretty good, even though you might have sold them back in December of last year and they popped from $1 all the way to $3.36. I know if it was me, I probably would have sold some. And if you didn't, you probably would have been mad because the stock then retreated back to $1 in March. You'd be like, oh, I missed the boat. I should have gotten out. And you hung out at for $1 for a long time until the end of the summer. Then they started rallying, got back up to 3 1/3 again, July 24th. And then they came back down to about $2 again throughout most of August. Then started rallying again. September got up to $4. And then they had a big spike just about a week ago up to, looks like $11.49. And then just kind of fell out of bed back to $4.85 on Friday before popping again today. This is just a dumpster fire of a name, but it has opportunities out here. Let's spot what our Eye of Sauron spotted. And I don't see a ton of put love in these wild meme names, but ABAT making an exception to the rule. We noticed today somebody come in and say, no 4 puts, how are they? The stock was pretty close to here, $6.04. And they got a market of 40 cents at 45, so a weirdly tight market for this one. I'll have to go dig a little more, but that's probably because a bunch have gone up. Yeah, and they said, we'll put up 5,000 for 45 cents. Worth noting, on the day, 44,000 of these have traded. Now, it looks like they've pretty much been lifting offers on a lot of them. That said, that is a weirdly tight market. I want to go check what was going on there, but they probably were probably working a bid and they just paid up maybe. But either way, looks like folks buying a bunch of 4 puts in ABAT, Mr. Rock Lobster, nearly 44,000 times today. What say you?
Well, I think I'll tell you. You know what's funny is we're back in the little tiny stock world, like the little tiny stocks with the big volume. That is impressive, and I do recall we laughed about puts in $4, $3, $2 strike puts, all of a sudden doubling in value because the stocks did indeed. Credit Suisse, which is hard for me to believe, but an investment bank that had probably the worst track record of just doing horrible things. Wow, 47,000 of these have traded on the day, fading this rally. I mean, they're juicy as all heck, as all get out. I mean, could they make money? I mean, you have some. I don't know exactly what made the $1 3/4 pop. I think you probably do better buying the 6s and selling the 4s. If you get back to $4 or not.
That's what I was thinking, too. In fact, I was just looking to price that up while you were talking.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad. I mean, the stock was $11, traded as low as $5. So it's had quite, I mean, it was 6, 11, 5. I think anything could happen, but I the spread, as far as paying some real money, I like a little better. And these options are already offered at 45. So even though paper is 47,000 contracts deep into them, the liquidity providers are saying, we'll sell you more.
They will sell you all you want. So yeah, they're 35 at 45 right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is, it's the typical, American Battery Technology. Okay, you got battery magic, bad magic stuff. 4 million in revenue and 500 billion. So again, this could be anywhere, this stock. Anywhere.
Yeah, I was just looking, listeners. Those puts are 35 at 45 right now. If you are intrigued, I was just pricing up some put spreads. Obviously, you could do that put spread for about $1 if that intrigues you. Or you could do, if you want a little bit less, you could do, looks like that fly, that 643, keep it tight for about 65 cents maybe. And then if you do the 642 symmetrical, it's going to cost you like $0.50. So just different ways you could play with that if you wanted to play some downside and didn't want to shell out all the money, and you don't want to buy a ridiculous strike like the 4s as well. You wanted to actually maybe play along on the way down. But there's some ways you could do it. And you know what? We all want to play along with Uncle Mike, so it's time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the strategy block.
All right, Uncle Mike, let's talk some strategery here on a Monday. I think all of us want to know how we can get together with a group of friends and or neighbors and create a health sharing service. So we've got, about 9 minutes left. Have at it, sir.
Well, I can't speak on a lot of them, but I can honestly speak in terms of if you're a born-again Christian, it's very easy to do, actually. And if you're healthy and you're a born-again Christian, then there's a lot of them out there. And if you're in the Catholic faith, I'm willing to bet there's ones for the Jewish faith, the Muslim faith, whatever. They all exist, I'm sure. So that's how I would do it. But in the meantime, before you can save money on your health insurance, what are you going to do with all that money that you save? Well, by all means, you need to invest it, and possibly investing into some type of a covered call. And so what I want to talk about today is the importance of rebalancing. Today is a day where I do a lot of rebalancing. It's the end of a monthly expiration, or it's the beginning of a new monthly expiration, I should say. And the importance of it is that you want to keep the stocks allocated the way with which you want them to be kept. So in other words, let's say you have one stock that goes up very significantly, but you get called away. Another stock doesn't move very much, and yet another stock goes down in value. Well, I think it's important to keep a rebalance. So in other words, as I'm looking through a lot of the portfolios that I'm doing this with right now, not all stocks have exactly 100 shares in them. And that's kind of my message for today's strategy block, is that don't be a perfectionist portfolio manager. So in other words, as I'm looking through the portfolio, one of the things that I try and do is have every stock have at least 100 shares, or in a 100 share increment. Some of them are going to have 106 shares. Some of them are going to have 101 shares. And there's going to be a little bit extra in there. But 99%, or between 95 and 98% of the stock that's in the overall portfolio will be covered in one way, shape, or form through selling some sort of premium. And that's what's the important part of it. If you have extra stock left over, the way with which we like to do it is putting in odd lots within the extra shares. So in other words, if you have a covered call, if you have just a portfolio full of stocks, it's like putting small pebbles into a bag, meaning you can put 18 shares of this stock, 26 shares of that stock, and it's pretty easy to make it fit. However, in the covered call world, you have to have 100 share increments. So because of that, it's like putting giant boulders into a bag. It's not going to be quite as efficiently packed as the pebbles in the bag are. So the way with which we fill in the open space is we create some small pebbles within the covered call portfolio. That keeps us rebalanced, and that's something that's been of benefit to us through the years. And that is the strategy block for today, Expiration Monday.
Yes, every day is expiration day now, at least in the indexes. As we keep on going, listeners, it is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, listeners, really quickly before we get to what we're keeping an eye on, we're also keeping an eye on your votes in our questions of the week and our flash polls. We talked earlier in the show, those OC 18 puts going up in VIX nearly 100,000 times for around 17 cents to that price. Are you buying them? You taking a bit of a flyer for the next couple of sessions, or are you sold to you? And right now, 100% of you want to buy those puts. That'll be open throughout the rest of the day. If you're listening on the podcast, make your voice heard. And we also have our question of the week. We don't like to lean political very often, but sometimes it's unavoidable. And we said right now there's a debate in financial circles about the independence of the Federal Reserve, whether it should remain that way or whether the White House should have more say in what's going on over there on the Fed board. So we thought we'd ask you folks right now. That's our question of the week. Should the White House have more say in Fed decisions, or should the Fed remain as independent as possible? We put independent in air quotes because the Fed at the end of the day is never truly independent. Look at all of their decisions around, let's say, the time that a new Fed governor is appointed. But that said, as independent as possible. And right now, 100% of you, so we're monolithic in both directions in both of our polls this week. 100% of you right now say no, you want to keep the Fed independent. That is our question of the week. That will be live throughout the week where you folks can make your voices heard. Mr. Rock Lobster, I'm guessing I know how you would vote in that keep the Fed independent or not. But if you have a thought, have at it. And then B, what are you keeping an eye on for the rest of the week?
Yeah, get rid of the Fed, replace with gold.
Oh, you're back. You're back to the gold. So all $4,300 an ounce of gold right now.
Yeah, it's all the Fed has not been right on anything in 80 years. I don't see what the best system was the Hong Kong peg to the dollar, right? And that created a very stable currency and stable growth. Singapore has like a similar system. Anyway, I just think the Fed has been wrong. Because it's run by humans and the peg is simple, right? Everybody knows what to expect with it, but that's just me. As far as this goes, we have CPI. Do we have inflation? Do we not have inflation? Again, it appears that the Fed was wrong about all of this all year long about what's going on. So, that would be it. I think the biggest thing really is just earnings. Corporate earnings seem to be growing. And what are you going to do? They're growing. Generally, stocks go up when earnings go up. And everything else seems to be a bit of a poor diversion at this point. The only thing I think that's odd is just gold keeps going straight to the moon. So, again, when there's, it's hard to value gold when you can't really value the currency. So, that's kind of where we find it. And it would not surprise me if gold was up another $1,000 in another year. Why not? It's already here. Why not go there?
A year. Why not next show? Why not? This rate?
Well, at this rate right now.
I thought 4,000 before the end of the year was kind of optimistic. We blew through that like nothing. Like child's play, sir.
And I mean, those the gold stocks look interesting, right? Like, they lag because they got to pull the stuff out of the ground, but everything in the ground they got is worth a lot more than it used to be. So, and that is what I'm keeping an eye on. Of course, if we have the government shutdown ends, I would guess, SPX gaps at least 1% or something like that. If there is a reasonable outcome to the shutdown.
And Mr. Rock Lobster, if folks want a reasonable outcome to meeting you in a dark alley, where should they go? What should they do?
If you want to be flashed, come to Option Pit, where I'm going live at 3:00 with some more trades. Also a view of our new scanner for said flashing. It's all kinds of fun. And that will be available within the next couple weeks, fingers crossed, with our developer. And again, if you want to learn how to trade these option things, you can learn how to do it with me, or you can just let Mike do it, and I'll give him the next. Mike, do it for you.
There you go. OptionPit.com or the Uncle Mike sharing service, known as StCharlesWealth.com. Mr. Uncle Mike, first off, if you have a vote on our Fed independence poll, have at it. And then B, where should folks go if they want to share some options goodness with you?
I mean, I like the idea of independence with the Fed, but let's be honest, they're really not independent. They are, but they aren't. Like anything with government, it is, but it isn't. They are, but they aren't. They will, but they won't. They can, but they can't. That's kind of how all government seems to work. But with that being said, if you are, in terms of what I'm keeping an eye on over the course of the next few weeks, of course, any shutdown news, any Israel news, any tweets in general, this is very headline driven. This is a very earnings driven market as well. So continuing to keep an eye on all such things. And if you'd like more information on how you could work with a financial advisor who actually talks about options, feel free to visit my website, stcharleswealth.com, and keep tuned into my YouTube channel. Type in St. Charles Wealth Management. Content is coming.
Content is coming. St. Charles Wealth, the place to go to learn more. That's going to do it for us on the old OB today, but you know the deal by now. Not going to do it for us on the network. If you're hanging out in the Protus Hangout, we'll be back in a little bit. The return of our good buddy, Mr. Greg Magadini, going to talk all of the vol and the madness going on in crypto. And spoiler alert, there's quite a bit. So stay tuned for that. I see some of you in the chat are liking those ABAT put flies and 1x2s. Interesting stuff out there. A lot of different ways to carve up the onion rather than just doing the trade that we highlight here. There's better ways to go about it sometimes, and that might be one of them. If you like that kind of stuff, make sure you're checking out the Pro, because then we have options oddities every week and a whole bunch of other fun stuff coming at you. I see Mr. Nation's pestering me. He wants to do his vol death match with the Flow Master, so I'm going to have to get that on the docket for the near future as well. Should be fun. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go for all that. Back again in a little bit for the Crypto Rundown. Back to wrap up the day with the Hot Options Report. Then we're back again with our usual array of content, till we're back again with the aforementioned Flow Master in hand on Thursday, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.